Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Joan Laporta's comments on Hansi Flick and whether or not it can be perceived as a diss to Xavi. We'll discuss Liverpool being able to retain Mohamed Salah. We'll talk about Chelsea's draw. We'll talk about how crucial it is for Liverpool to retain Mohamed Salah. We'll talk about Chelsea's draw with Crystal Palace. We'll discuss the 2024 Ballon d'Or nominees. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show where I'll be giving you my reactions to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. Before we start off though, I just want to let y'all know, if you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show great, and we thrive on your energy and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the GSMCpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We start off though with the Joan Laporta comments that he had, and his, he always has that conference, as the president of Barcelona. He has the conference where he talked about Dani Olmo, Deco, Hansi Flick, and some of the players, some of the transfer strategy like Gundogan, Malay, Cancelo, Go, Victor Roque. He went on to cover a lot, Camp Nou, the finances, all that. But it was the comments that he made about Hansi Flick that's left a lot of people talking about, specifically the way the comments sounded. It did sound like a diss, like a sneak diss to Xavi. And we'll just go straight into it. We'll read the quotes that came out. So let's go total whatever Joan Laporta said. First, he discussed Barcelona and if they'll be able to. There's financial situation in terms of being able to sign players. Yes, this is what he said. Yes, we will be able to sign players normally in January because we plan to arrive at La Liga's 1-1 rule before then. When you say sign, we can sign players. The problem is the registration with the league. It'll be easier once we reach the 1-1 rule. For now, though, we're not thinking of any player for January because we are happy with the squad we have. But Deco, the sporting director, and his team are working hard to analyze what's needed medium and long term. We are satisfied with what we have. Dani Olmo was the priority, and we have signed him. I said we can make a big signing, and that has proven true. Laporta also went on to talk about the renegotiation of the club's agreement with Nike. We could have easily reached 1-1 already through signing the Nike deal, but we didn't want to. We wanted to improve some terms. What we're going to sign will be the best best contract in the world of football. Laporta also made some comments on Gundogan, who was able to rejoin Manchester City at the end of this transfer window, and said Gundogan leaving was strictly a sporting decision. Even though Gundogan came out and said, if my departure can help the club financially, it makes me a bit less sad. So Laporta speaking said, Gundogan is a great player and an excellent person. He was magnificent in his year here, but after a meeting he had with Flick assessing the situation within the squad for sporting reasons, he decided he wanted to leave. For us, it was purely a sporting decision taken by the club and the player. With the arrival of Dani Olmo, he was a player who plays a similar role. I have read that it was an economic decision, but no, it has economic repercussions, but that was not the reason. We let him leave for free because he had joined as a free agent, so it was the fair thing to do. So and then that's not the end. Laporta also talked about Deco. There was reports in Spain talking about uh, the problems. There was reports in Spain talking about the problems adding to the squad had really frustrated Deco, to the point that he even considered leaving his position. Laporta said, I have worried for his health because it's a very stressful, all this stuff. It's been a really stressful summer, but I've never worried about him not continuing with the club. There's confidence between us to the point that if there was any problem, we would speak with each other. We can be satisfied with the work he has done. Thanks to him, we have appointed Flick as coach and renewed the deals of all the young players at the club. Deco is also the architect of the new fitness staff we have brought in this summer. He has reduced the wage bill and improved the squad. He is doing a great job. The nucleus of the project is La Masia. Okay, now, no. Okay, that's okay. This is the part where it gets interesting. So, obviously, Barcelona has started their campaign off really well. 4 wins out of 4. They're looking good. Hansi Flick has this Barcelona team looking like a real deadly team that's on the verge of doing something special. And Laporta, obviously he's really, really happy with that. But some of these comments, go a little bit more than just appraisal of Hansi Flick. It's almost a sort of, the criticizing of Xavi, if you really break down what he says. So he says, this is Hansi Flick. The nucleus of the project is La Masia, and Flick has shown that with his use of academy players in the first team. We are excited, but we don't want to get carried away. Flick immediately understood that La Masia is our treasure. He knows that the academy is the center of our project, and I'm happy he has been so quick to put youngsters into the team. He has been brave. He's a coach that doesn't make excuses. I see a lot of intensity. When I spoke with fitness coach Julio Torres, he told me they are using a different method now. The exercise and training are really dynamic, a lot of strength work. We have a coach that wants to press until the 90th minute. After the Man City game in preseason, he was angry because we only pressed until the 70th minutes. I like how demanding he is. Now, there was more quotes talking about him, talking about Hansi Flick not making excuses. I need to find I need to find those quotes, but it was, and it's really harsh on Xavi because, look, Xavi did value La Masia. From these quotes, it seemed like he's making it seem like, Xavi did not care about La Masia and Hansi Flick is the only one that really starting to believe it. That's not true. A lot of young players came up the ranks through Xavi. I mean, think about the opportunities he gave in his first season. The players that got to play like Abdi Ezalzouli, that core of youngsters in that period. Some of them wasn't even good enough to actually make it out of Barcelona at that point. And then you see some of the players now like Lamine Yamal that got into the first team because of Xavi. It's sort of it's really harsh. It's really harsh. It's really, 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 really harsh. There's been plenty of players that made their debuts, um, uh, La Masia debuts, under under Xavi. A lot of young players came up. So for me, I just think it's a sort of diss. It has to be, and it makes no sense why. Because Xavi did bring players up from La Masia. He has a whole crew of players. He relied on youngsters, especially in his first, that first season. He believed in them, and and it was just, well, I don't understand that. And then he talked about he doesn't make excuses. Okay, yes, Xavi had a few moments where he talked about the financial situation at the club, and obviously that rubbed Joan Laporta the wrong way. But for me, it's just unnecessary, and it's ridiculous to treat a club legend like that, who you initially sort of convinced him to stay on as Barcelona manager, just to end up firing him a few months later. I just don't understand how the disconnect between Flick and Xavi got so bad in such quick time, because it was a point of, in February that Laporta was trying to convince Xavi to stay on, to 2-3 months later, and Laporta is firing Xavi. I don't get it. I think the comments are harsh. I don't think Xavi was an excuse maker. I think the few moments that he talked about the financial situation in the club and all that, he was right. He was right. The few moments that he talked about it, he was saying the truth, and he wasn't making excuses. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Let me just let me just name you the La Masia talents that made their Barcelona debut under Xavi. Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubarasi, Chadi Riyad, Fermin Lopez, Mark Guille, Mika Marmol, Ferran Jutgla, Hector Fort, Elias Homash, Mark Casado, Estanis Pedrola, Inaki Peña, Angel Alarcon, Alex Garrido, Alvaro Sanz. And this doesn't include a lot of the players from the Abdi Ezal Zuli reign, early on in Xavi's reign as Barcelona manager. So, yeah, it's nonsense. It's nonsense that, and he didn't, to be fair to Laporta, he didn't come out and just say he didn't value La Masia, but you could tell from the comments. And then he talked about, the excuse making, and all that, which I can't find the comments exactly. I want to read exactly what he said discussing that aspect. I couldn't find the exact comments regarding that, but it was also very, very interesting things he had to say. But look, overall, Hansi Flick, he's had a great start. There's no two ways about it. He's been great. The way that they've started off, how they're looking more vertical, more looking to play that forward ball. It's been a great start for Barcelona. There's no two ways about it. And yes, Joan Laporta has every right to be very happy about Hansi Flick, but there's a way you could address Hansi Flick without sort of sneak dissing Xavi, and we all know he intended to. There's no, he intended to do that, but yeah, it is what it is. Short break here coming up, and when we come back, we will discuss Mohamed Salah's future at Liverpool.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed Joan Laporta's sort of sneak diss at Xavi when talking about Hansi Flick. We move on to discuss Liverpool retaining Mohamed Salah, how crucial it is for Liverpool to retain Mohamed Salah. It's interesting there. So Mohamed Salah, after that, high-flying game against Manchester United, where he was able to get a goal at at Old Trafford, and continue his amazing run that he's had. He had some, he was on, I believe he was on Sky Sports or something of that sort. Yeah, Sky Sports, and he had some interesting comments. Mohamed Salah: I had a good summer and had a long time to myself to try to stay positive because, as you know, it's my last year at the club. I just want to enjoy it and I don't want to think about it. I feel like I'm free to play football and then we'll see what happens next year. Coming into the game, I said it could be my last time. No one at the club has spoken to me about contracts, so I'm just like, okay, I'm playing my last season and see what happens at the end of the season. So far, we don't know which club, but so far, my last game here was Liverpool. It's not up to me, but nobody talked to me about a contract with the club. We'll see. It's pretty simple. Look, he starts off saying it is my last year at the club, but then he had that caveat saying we'll see, and nobody talked to me about a contract. It's not up to me. So it really, he said it's his last year at the club, and nobody ran away with it, saying, "Oh, this is Mohamed Salah's farewell season," blah blah blah. It has those sparked the conversation, and I think it's the comments he had at the end saying, "We'll see," talking about it's not up to me. No contract has been offered. Sort of throwing the ball into Liverpool's court. And look, for me it's a little bit shocking, that it's hard to believe almost that they have, I'm not calling Mohamed Salah a liar, by the way, but it's really hard to believe that they have had no contact over a possible contract. That's crazy for me. But if you want to look at it from Liverpool's perspective, last year, the end of the year, didn't have a greatest end to the year, and he is a player that's already, that's not a young player anymore. He is 32 years old, and there might be a little bit of a reluctance, giving him a 3+ year deal, because at every moment now with his age 32, it's year to year in terms of maybe a sudden drop off coming. It really comes quickly sometimes with these sort of star players. You just don't know, and maybe Liverpool don't want to be put in a position that they're having to pay a player that's past it. We see Chelsea sort of dealing with that with Raheem Sterling, having to loan him out and still pay half his bill. We see what's going on with United and Casemiro. It's a risk there, but Mohamed Salah is the heart and soul of Liverpool, And we see from the start of the season that he's clearly not washed. He clearly has supreme ability, and he's still one of the best players in the world. And this is a guy that will go down as one of the best players in Liverpool history, if not the best player in Liverpool history. So it'd be a shame for the club to let a player like that, leave before he's completely, done in terms of giving his best. Steven Gerrard, you say, he left Liverpool whenever he was done. For me, you gotta treat Mohamed Salah in that same way. Cause look, those are the kind of players that don't come around very often. His ability to score, his ability to just be dynamic, his clutch factor too, always showing up at Old Trafford. That's a Liverpool legend right there, and that's a proper Liverpool player. His what he's been able to do at Old Trafford in that derby, and he's very, very important. And we talk about Liverpool's strong attack. We see Luis Diaz, Jota, Salah, and then they got guys like Gakpo and Nunez on the bench. But that attack doesn't look anywhere near as dominant and make the opposition fear of there's no Salah in there. It's Salah being in there on top of the depth and quality around him that makes that attacking display very fearful if you're one of the the opposition. So it's beyond crucial for Liverpool to retain Mohamed Salah. And yes, Arne Slot is building something. They're playing some quality football, and you see, we already see a pattern of play in a way that they want to go about it, an approach that we're still yet to see from Erik ten Hag at Manchester United. We already see that from Arne Slot at this Liverpool team. They're going to be dynamic. They're going to be able to control the ball. They're going to be able to move. They can move the ball quickly at certain moments. They can take the air and control it in certain games. They're lightning electric in counterattacks. They really value the use of fullback, just like Jurgen Klopp did. We already see patterns of play in the way that they want to go about it. So there's a nucleus there. There's something special that they're building. But a player, Mohamed Salah, is the perfect player to be that transitional piece from that Jurgen Klopp era into the start of this Arne Slot era. His ability, his dominance, and he's a guy that, with the goals, there's Mohamed Salah. Replacing him, you don't replace him like that. This is a guy that's had ridiculous statistics since he's came into the club. Let's just pull it up real quick, actually. So last season he had 18 goals and 10 assists. Season before that, 19 goals and 12 assists. Season before that, 23 goals and 13 assists. Season before that, 22 goals and 5 assists. That is a consistent, productive of on average about 30 goals and assists per season in the Premier League alone. Not in any other competition. This is just Premier League alone, by the way. That's not an easy thing to just replace at a club. And then on top of that, you don't really have that replacement for him right now. Now, yes, Federico Chiesa is a player, that you're bringing in, that you're, a sort of experimental player to see if you can get him back to his best that we saw from him at the European Championship. But he's not a Mohamed Salah. And to expect Mohamed Salah-like production from him, he's a guy that you were able to sign for 14 million for a reason. So, he's a talisman, and you don't come across these sort of players like that. So for me, yeah, I have to say, it's absolutely crucial that Liverpool keep him. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss Chelsea's draw with Crystal Palace.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Liverpool, how crucial it is for them to retain Mohamed Salah. We move on to discuss Chelsea's draw with Crystal Palace. So it was Nicholas Jackson that was able to give Chelsea that opening goal, tap-in from a ball played in by Cole Palmer. Nicholas Jackson able to tap it home. And then in the 53rd minute, Eberechi Eze was able to show his quality with a lightning strike of a goal, and it finishes 1-1. Stats read out 13 shots for Chelsea to 9 shots for Crystal Palace, 7 shots for Chelsea to 3 shots for Crystal Palace. Possession stats show Chelsea were favored 63% to 37% for Crystal Palace, and Chelsea are coming off this game after a great sort of performance against Wolves, being able to back 6, but disappointing result today as they draw with Crystal Palace, in which in the first half I thought Chelsea played pretty well. They created some good chances. It was good balls being played in, looked a little bit dynamic. I loved, they looked dynamic. Madueke looked electric, getting the ball in behind to Palmer, who was able to cross it to Nicholas Jackson. Pedro Neto showed some good signs. Malagusto played in a brilliant ball into Cole Palmer that actually created another opportunity. Overall, in that first half, Chelsea, they were really good in that first half, and they were eventually able to break the deadlock in the 25th minute. After Mark Dehey, he made a run forward. He lost the ball, and then they were quickly countered, and they took advantage of it with Madueke, his ability to drive forward, then being able to pick it out. By the way, Madueke has had a good start to the season. That's a player that I've been highly critical of. But he's had a good start to the season. But yeah, Madueke was able to find Cole Palmer, and then Cole Palmer, finds Nicholas Jackson for the tap in. Crystal Palace, by the way, they've started the season off pretty poorly with 2 losses to Brentford and West Ham United. And then they started the first half, it was a bad start for them at Stamford Bridge. They were outplayed, dominated by Chelsea. But Crystal Palace had their best 45 minutes of the season so far. They were able to pick up... by the way, before the goal that they scored in the 53rd minute, Palmer was able to score was almost able to score from a free kick. That doesn't quite get in. And then Eze is able to equalize in the 53rd minute. He sort of picked up the rebound from Doucouré's shot, and then it was an absolutely beautiful curler right into the net. Impossible for the goalkeeper. And then it was a little bit of a basketball game. Both sides were, sort of chasing that second goal. Levi Colwill was going close. It was close for Chelsea, but Palace's Kamada had a really good save, And yeah, Eze had an opportunity from the edge of the box, but it ended up getting blocked. Uh, and Yeah, Jackson. I've always said he's not a elite center forward. He can score his tap-ins because this Chelsea team creates a lot of opportunities, and he gets the goals like he did today. But in terms of being able to get an actual goal, is not he does not have that ability. He had two really good opportunities, but couldn't find the back of the net. And we're just gonna have to live with that. We don't have a striker that has quality. We have a striker that's fast and they'll make the right runs and be in the right areas, but unless he gets an opportunity where he can literally tap it in, he's of no use. That's just the truth. Um, um, yeah, but yeah, it was and then Enzo Maresca had some nice comments. I feel a bit of a shame for the result, but not the performance. The direction is the correct one. We completely deserved to win the game. We had many chances. The most important thing was the performance, and the performance was there. We didn't take the 3 points, but playing the way we did today, I think we will win games. With the players arriving now, we can be even better. Look, I will say the first half was good. The first half. But that second half, Crystal Palace was competitive. It was end to end, and Crystal Palace was able to gain more confidence, and Chelsea weren't able to find that breakthrough in that second half. So I don't think that total game performance was good. I think the first half was good, and yes, I still think this Chelsea team are in the right sort of direction, but I don't completely agree with Maresca there. And then he says, with the players arriving now, we can be even better. I don't know what that means. If he's talking about Jadon Sancho, I don't know how Jadon Sancho will make this current Chelsea team better. That's one of the positions that we don't really... again, we shouldn't really, that's a question to be had over and over and over again with like every single signing Chelsea has made the last 3 or 4 years. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just kind of going to player ratings, because I had some interesting, not player ratings, but there was an issue that I had with this performance. Let me pull it up here. By the way, I thought Wesley Fofana, looked pretty good for a guy that's battled so many injuries. We know the serious quality that he had from his Leicester days, and he just hasn't been able to stay on the field for Chelsea. And he wasn't amazing or anything, but I expected this to be a sort of slow start. But I thought, he was solid. Mateta didn't really get much into the game, and then him and Colwell are starting to look comfortable, as a partnership there. Look, I thought Caicedo was actually pretty good, and he's been pretty good so far. He better be good with 115 million pounds, but yeah, he was really good. He was very energetic. He won tackles. He played the ball forward. He didn't really go sideways and backwards, and he was a good defensive presence for the team. The midfielder I've been disappointed with was Enzo Fernandez, who is the captain now. So it's even set. It's not just the pressure. It's not just the transfer fee, but it's also the captaincy of the club, and Fernandez was more in a forward position because of the work Caicedo did. And he had one opportunity that he set up Madueke in the first half with a really good ball. Apart from that, though, didn't really get into the game as much as someone that that is perceived of his quality with the amount of money signed. He needs to be more of the dominant part of the game. He needs to get on the ball more. He needs to be creating more. And he's getting more forward, right? We know that he has the ability to strike a ball. Where is the Granit Xhaka strikes once in a while, having a go at it? We didn't see that from Enzo Fernandez. I'm not just talking about today, but in general. And with Caicedo being in there, it allows Enzo to be more forward. So I just want to see, Enzo have more foot in the game. He needs to be better. And then Neto, I didn't criticize him. I said he was okay, just because he is, this is his first game starting for Chelsea, and most of Chelsea's attack came on the right hand side, and him and Correa, that left hand side was kind of not good this game. Cole Palmer doing what he does as always, probably man of the match for Chelsea, setting up another goal. This is now already 4 assists that he has this season, I believe. 4 assists and 2 goals. 4 assists and 2 goals or 1 goal? Because he scored, I think he only has 1 goal this season, actually. But yeah, fine performance from Cole Palmer. But again, the key with this Chelsea team is to develop that consistency. And now with the transfer window, or not transfer window coming up, but with the break, the international break, it allows Jadon Sancho to get, settled in. And Enzo Maresca can sort of try to make things, tactically fit, better. But will remain to be seen. Show break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to the 2024 Ballon d'Or nominees.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we discussed Chelsea's draw with Crystal Palace. We move on to react to the 2024 Ballon d'Or nominees. Obviously, we know the nominees for the Ballon d'Or is ridiculously long. In my opinion, way too long. Because it's just unnecessarily the amount of players that they have on here. Because we know it really comes down to like 3 or 4 that are legit. Not even 3 or 4. It really comes down to 2 legitimate contenders, and then the rest are kind of there to, be decoration. But I will say this: this year may be a little bit difficult to decide, as opposed to previous years. And on top of that as well, this is the first time actually that Messi or Ronaldo, neither of those players will be a nominee since 2003. That's when I was born. The last time Messi and Ronaldo was not on a Ballon d'Or nominee list is the year I was birthed. I was born, which is mind-boggling to think about. The sort of dominance those 2 players has had, pushing each other to be even greater, game in, game out. I mean, they're really 2 of the greatest players of all time. One is the greatest player of all time, and the other is not that far behind him. And yeah, they're, it's phenomenal. But going back to this year's list, we go open it up. This is in no particular order. Vinicius Jr., Real Madrid. Rodri for Manchester City. Jude Bellingham for Real Madrid. Dani Carvajal for Real Madrid, Bukayo Saka for Arsenal, Ruben Dias for Manchester City, William Saliba for Arsenal, Fede Valverde for Real Madrid, Cole Palmer for Chelsea, Lamine Yamal for Barcelona, Erling Haaland for Manchester City, Kylian Mbappe for PSG. He's listed here as a Real Madrid player, but for PSG, because that's where he had his season. Toni Kroos for Real Madrid, Martin Odegaard for Arsenal, Emiliano Martinez from Aston Villa, Granit Xhaka for Bayer Leverkusen, Artem Dovbyk for Roma, he had his season at Girona, but he's listed as a Roma player. Harry Kane for Bayern Munich, Matt Hummels from Roma. He's listed as a Roman player. We'll discuss him signing for Roma in the next segment, actually, but it's really for what he did at Borussia Dortmund. Hakan Çalhanoğlu for Inter Milan, Nico Williams for Athletic Bilbao, Phil Foden for Manchester City, Florian Wirtz for Bayer Leverkusen, Dani Olmo for Barcelona, Declan Rice for Arsenal, Vitinha for PSG, Ademola Lookman for Atalanta, Lautaro Martinez for Inter Milan, Alejandro Grimaldo for Bayer Leverkusen, and then Antonio Rudiger for Real Madrid. I will say the surprising thing in this list is they listed Alejandro Grimaldo, Granit Xhaka, but no Jeremy Frimpong. Jeremy Frimpong, and this is not to take away anything that Alejandro Grimaldo did. I thought he was simply sensational as well for Bayer Leverkusen. But Jeremy Frimpong was also really, really, really important for Bayer Leverkusen. And for me, they both deserved, to be a Ballon d'Or nominee. I thought it was pretty weird that, Grimaldo, because look, you could argue, Jeremy Frimpong didn't play game in, game out for the Netherlands as they reached the semi-final. Alejandro Grimaldo, he didn't sniff the pitch for Spain either. And the only game he got to play is the game that, that third group stage game where Luis de la Fuente rested everyone. In fact, Jeremy Frimpong had more of a real role in that Netherlands team. There was a few games that he actually started. That second game against France, in a game that was actually meaningful, he started, and it's for me it's a little it's a little weird, but that's not to here nor there. Just going back quickly, but for me, I would say Granit Xhaka deserves to be high on this list for Leverkusen. I do believe if he were able to get farther with Switzerland, if they were able to get past England, and then maybe potentially, they would have faced Netherlands. Who knows what would happen? And if he went on an even deeper run with Switzerland, combine that with what how important he was for Leverkusen, that would have skyrocketed him up this list. He's not going to be a contender now because of that, because of not being able to take that next level with Switzerland. But he's a really, really great player. And he could be high on this list. Florian Wirtz, I think he's still going to be pretty high up in this list. I can see him cracking the top 7 or 8 or so. And if he was able to, win it with Germany, I think that would have skyrocketed him. And, we see a few Arsenal players in there. Martin Odegaard, William Saliba, William Saliba, Declan Rice, which is sort of, the reward to them for what they've been able to do for Arsenal and how great Arsenal were this season, racking up 89 points, an impressive achievement. Vitinha and that run that he had in the Champions League for what he did at PSG, Ademola Lookman, what he was able to do at Atlanta, getting to the Europa League final and then scoring that hat-trick in the final. Lautaro Martinez being on this list for the absolutely unbelievable season he had at Inter Milan. Phil Foden, he's going to be a contender as well, just for the great season he had at Manchester City, winning the PFA Player of the Year. Toni Kroos for what he was able to do Real Madrid, win the final, Champions League final, win La Liga in his last season, and be an important piece to Germany as they made a run in the European Championship again. Now, if they won the European Championship, he would really be up high in this list. Also, Bukayo Saka as well. I don't think I included him in the list of Arsenal players. The Real Madrid players being in there: Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Federico Valverde, Dani Carvajal. Antonio Rudiger, they're all getting rewarded for that Champions League run. Toni Kroos, they're all getting rewarded for that Champions League run as well. We know the realistic ones that have a real shot at winning it is Vinicius and Jude Bellingham. There's a lot of clamor about Dani Carvajal of winning with Real Madrid and Spain. But let's be realistic. Erling Haaland for Manchester City, of course, what he's been able to do. Emilio Martinez, what he's been able to do at Aston Villa, being the goalkeeper for a team that, made the top four. It's Aston Villa team that's not really expected to make the top four. They were expected to be really, really good. But we thought entering the season top four maybe a little bit too much of a push. So, he's getting, Aston Villa are getting rewarded for that. Cole Palmer, that amazing standout season he had at Chelsea. He's continued to pick up that great form this season. Matt Hummels, him and the Borussia Dortmund team being able to reach the final, being a part of a very good defense, especially down the stretch in the Champions League for Dortmund. In terms of the general season in the Bundesliga, they didn't, defensively they were pretty weak, but in that Champions League run, they defended really, really well. So there was a lot of players that were on here. Hakan Çalhanoğlu for what he was able to do at Inter Milan, and combined being able to lead Turkey to quarterfinals. And then Artem Dovbyk, that great season he had at Girona, which actually earned him, a transfer to Roma. That earned him the transfer to Roma. But for me, the main talk of the show is the real contenders here. And, it's, I don't agree with this, but from what I hear, the nominees, the top three are going to be Jude Bellingham. I don't agree with that one. I do agree with the top two, though, Vinicius and Rodri. I do think they are the two deservings of the Ballon d'Or. Only one of them can win it, but I think they're like the top two. I will edge out Rodri because Rodri was able to do it for City and Spain. And, in times in the past, Ballon d'Or, that international tournament has been very, very valued. You see what Messi won the World Cup in 2022. He went on to win the Ballon d'Or despite doing nothing in the club ring for Well, he didn't do nothing, but he, let me take that back. He wasn't nothing for PSG, but he didn't do much at the club level compared to Erling Haaland that had a record. I think he had like 35 goals in 34 games in the Premier League, something crazy like that. He was part of the Manchester City team that won the treble as well that season. The obvious choice there was Haaland, but they really valued that World Cup. Ballon d'Or, they value the international trophies. And Vinicius Jr. in Brazil, they got eliminated in the quarterfinal, partly because Vinicius Jr. was suspended in that game. But overall, that opening, that group stages, he was pretty inconsistent for Brazil. He had that really good game against Paraguay, but opening against Costa Rica, he was just not good enough. Against Colombia again, and then he ended up getting suspended as well. For me, Rodri, the dictator, the composer. He dictated all the tempo. He was so composed in midfield. He got the ball from one end to the other, and he was such an important part to Manchester City. They played like a different team when he was off the pitch. And then if you look at what he was able to do for Spain, this is the first tournament that he's been able to play his natural position as that holding midfield for his country because of Sergio Busquets, who recently retired from Spain. This was Rodri's time to shine. And again, doing things that he did best, dictating tempo, being composed, controlling the game, controlling possession, and also had, that a moment that Spain had. It's not, it's not the biggest of moments, but it was an important moment in my opinion. Georgia go down to Spain 1-0 in the round. Spain go down to Georgia 1-0 in that round of 16. In Spain, they're looking for the breakthrough. They can't even find the moment, and it is early in the first half. But the longer it goes 0-0, it's dangerous for Spain, very, very dangerous, especially because we know what happened in years past. Spain going up against weaker oppositions, going down. It's hard for them to break down. But he had that moment in the 36th minute. He was able to get that strike. slightly outside of the box, make it 1-1 right before the half, and completely change the momentum of Spain. It was a big moment in the tournament for Spain, and then they went on to win it, and he was amazing as well. For me, Rodri has to win Ballon d'Or. You have to reward him, and yes, he doesn't play the most appealing positions, and to the naked eye, you might not really see, what he does exactly. Like, if you're not, a proper football, fan, you don't really understand the impact he has. But this team moves differently with a guy like Rodri in there. You see that for Manchester City when he's out, and for me, you have to value that. Short break here coming up though. When we come back, we will react to some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we discussed the 2024 Ballon d'Or nominees. We move on to discuss some of the top soccer headlines, and we will start off. With so Osimhen is official. He has sealed the it's always tongue twister me saying this. Galatasaray. He has joined Galatasaray on a season-long loan from Napoli. It's been announced Galatasaray will pay 6 million euros to get it done, and Osimhen actually signed the contract extension with Napoli last December through 2026 with the reported release clause of 130 million, and so Napoli now have in that clause, Napoli have an agreement with Osimhen, so that they have an option to extend his contract until 2027. And Osimhen, he found himself in a sort of tough position this summer. We've already discussed it. So he is going to Galatasaray, and I've already told him my opinion. It's a shame that a player of his quality is leaving to the Turkish league because he couldn't find another way out of Napoli. Roma, they were able to sign Matt Hummels. They were able to sign Matt Hummels. Matt Hummels has been a free agent. This is coming off, being the center back, being the leader, the captain of a team. I don't know if he was the captain. I have to check that. But figuratively, a captain of the team that went to the Champions League final. And then now he's looking for a new club, and he has signed for Roma. Hummels, he left Dortmund when his contract expired. He spent 13 years with Dortmund, having 508 appearances, of course, 2 spells, because he had 2 spells there at Dortmund, sandwiched between where he had a brief spell at Bayern Munich, which is typical of any sort of German player that has any sort of talent. They always have a time in Bayern Munich. He had his 3 years at Bayern where he had 74 appearances. Where he had 74 appearances. But yeah, the 35-year-old has signed the season-long deal and is expected to be around 2.5 million euros. And Hummels also has 78 caps for Germany, and he was a part of that 2014 World Cup winning team, and he was surprisingly left off this summer's team at the European Championship. But yeah, Angel Gomez has left Manchester United, or he left, we know this happened a while back, but he left Manchester United to join Lille. And, a lot of us forgot about him, honestly. I remember Angel Gomez a little bit, but now he's earned his first call-up for England, which is a great story there. Lee Carsley, who obviously been, working in the ranks, is aware of him, knows him, in the English youth setup. And Lee Carsley has picked him to play in the games against the Republic of Ireland and Finland. Angel Gomez said, when I left, it was more for the idea to better myself as a person, and obviously as a person. I knew that myself as a player and obviously as a person. I knew that eventually I'd be able to create a pathway for myself to be in the position that I'm in now. It was difficult leaving the club that I was at from 6 years old. From then, it has been an uphill trajectory, but also with a lot of difficulties and difficult moments. But being in the position now makes it all worth it. Gomez was actually part of the extended list of players that was actually under consideration to reach the European Championship with Gareth Southgate, but he missed out. And when he spoke about that, he said, believe it or not, I was pre-selected in the group of a lot of England players. Whenever the squad was getting announced, I would get the email, but obviously you get told whether you get a phone call or you'll know whether you're in the squad or not. I missed it a lot of the times, but I know if I kept that, sooner or later I would be able to create a pathway for myself. I'm just thankful that I'm here now and I'm able to showcase myself. I just didn't quite make the group, but it was always feel to keep going. And England are going to take on the Republic of Ireland in Dublin, which actually leads me to my next point. Where was that? We know that Jack Grealish was part of the Irish setup, and he originally was going to play for the Republic of Ireland, but now he's been but he has since changed, switched allegiance to England. And Republic of Ireland striker Callum Robinson is sort of warning him. Robinson was, really good friends with Grealish, says the 28-year-old should expect some abuse. Speaking about it, he said, I'd be surprised if he doesn't, because I think he gets booed anywhere he goes anyway, even in England. I think he'll be getting ready for a bit of abuse, but that's part of it. It's part of the game. He's old enough, and with being a senior player now, that stuff going to come. As I said, he gets in English games. I don't think there will be any games on Saturday, any change on Saturday. I think he will be getting it. There's obviously, this happens all the time. Even Joel Embiid, going back to basketball at this Summer Olympic Games, playing in France, he chose the U.S. over France every time he got the ball, and not even the games that he was playing against France. This is just in general. Every time he got the ball, he got the abuse, he got the booze, and that's just how it works. Fans will be unhappy when you make that sort of decisions, especially it's not, him not playing for Ireland is one thing, and it's something he'll get booed about. Is on top of that he goes to England that makes it work, and that's normally what it is with England and Ireland, or England and Wales, England, Northern Ireland, all that. Usually when you're a dual national of those sort of one of those countries, you're also, English, you're born in England and all that. That's just what it is. We know Shea Adams, he's an English player, but he has Scottish heritage, was allowed him to play for Scotland. It's is how it works. The U.S. also benefits like that. Yunus Musa, Anthony Robinson. There's a lot of players in there that's two national. Sergino Dest. Now it's a little bit different in the U.S. because a lot of these players are, primarily going for the U.S. because they're just not good enough for that. For Anthony Robinson's case. Actually, now with the left back pool, he is good enough, honestly, But Yunus Musa, it's a little bit tricky one because that one will happen when he was really, really young. And, I think, he legitimately chose the U.S. Because some of these happen really, really... Actually, I take that back with the U.S. men's national team in terms of they're only playing for the U.S. Because they're not good enough for their country. Because some of these players are making their choices, when they're really, really young, when they don't know. Yunus Musa made his choice at 17, 18 years old. Sergino Dest at 18, 18, 19 years old. And Sergino Dest was rated really, really highly and someone that really could have came up the Dutch ranks. Anthony Robinson, that one is a little bit different, but still 2021, I believe. He's still, it's different. The U.S. has, under Greg Berhalter, the one thing he's been able to get really correct is, the recruitment. They've done really good recruiting. So I take that back. The U.S. they're being able to recruit players. But with this sort of case, it happens. And yeah, he's going to get the booze. He's going to get the booze. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go.